Callum, I told you to wait in the car.
Over here!
There's something special about the entrance to an amusement park. A line drawn between the real world and the world of whimsy within. On this side, the apathy of our everyday lives. And on the other, anything we might dare to dream. It's no wonder Callum ran back inside. I wouldn't want to leave either.
Halloween Horror Nights, one of my favorite events of the year, is quickly approaching, and with it seeming more and more like we're probably not getting another video game based IP this year, I kind of decided to go back and make a small list of video game ideas that might work out very well at the event, and I tried to kind of compile them into a short list, as short as I could make it, which is easily like the top 10. The only rule that I kind of made was I didn't want to redo any houses, because of course all of them that have already been there would make excellent recurring houses. Your Silent Hills, your Resident Evils, The Last of Us easily could come back like at any time. For the old school folk, Nightmare Creatures, it was there apparently at some point in 2000, which I think is hilarious. So I organized these in a small list of 1 to 10 with a few honorable mentions. I kind of put them in order of randomness, so there wouldn't be like all the heavy hitters at the end or at the beginning. And I thought we'd start with number 1, the very top of the list, Five Nights at Freddy's. The one everyone's been trying to predict this year to be coming, and it seems like it's probably not. Hopefully I'm wrong. But it would be an excellent house to come out. You really couldn't go wrong with it. I feel like having maybe stilt walkers and costumes, make them extra tall, would be excellent. With the movie that just came out doing well, and with the sequel coming out in next year, 2 years from now, it would probably be an excellent choice to have. And it would bring in probably a lot of people who don't usually come to HHN, but are really big fans of that franchise and its merchandise and books and video games. Would be excellent. Number 2 is the first oddball pick that I think would be really fun, and that would be Fatal Frame. For people who don't really know Fatal Frame, the easiest way to explain it, it's a J-horror where you fight ghosts with a camera by taking the pictures and it makes them go away. And I think that'd be excellent. I don't think HHN has had many J-horror houses, if at all, at least over here in the States. Obviously, Japan probably has a few. And I feel J-horror would be a nice new experience for people. It'd be a little different. J-horror always has a bit of differentness from its style. And I like the idea of ghosts coming out of their hiding spots to scare guests that are attending, and then having a camera flash and that being the reason why they reset. I think that's actually a very fun idea going for it. Number 3, keeping up with the whole camera idea, I have Outlast. Outlast is a very intense horror video game, very much more graphic than probably most of the things we're going to be bringing up here. And it might not be popular enough to actually bring. I know a lot of people like Outlast. I know I like Outlast. It still has sequels coming out. It just had the multiplayer game come out not too long ago. We'd probably have to tone down a lot of the more risque pieces. HHN is not really known for being the most risque haunt around. But just the idea of walking in a pitch black area and then maybe a huge green light comes on to make it look like you're using the night vision of the camera would be an excellent idea. And then maybe a huge scare at the end to chase people out of the house. I think that'd be excellent. Just a classic asylum house, but with a name branding attached to it. Number 4 is a really big choice. And obviously I'm going to have to explain. It's going to be the Dead by Daylight franchise. Obviously not the actual IP characters. We can't spend the money on getting all the IPs just for one area. But obviously the original characters would be the big starring roles. I kind of see this more as a scare zone. I think it would work better because it's in an open area. If anybody remembers HHN 25, how they had the icons on their own little stages and then had scare actors moving around them, I could see something like that, where obviously the bigger monsters like your Onis and stuff like that would be on stages and maybe do a little show, and you could have the smaller people who could easily run around be out there, like the Legion. You could have all 4 members of the Legion around, and that'd be a very exciting experience. and then you could have the little gas engines around and have them either succeed or explode over time and try and scare guests as they walk by. I think that'd be very exciting. Obviously, we could have the survivors in their either their traditional outfits that they usually start with, or maybe fan favorite outfits that people like to dress in. I think that'd be very exciting, and I feel like that would work very well in just an open area. You could obviously put up some fake grass and some mood lighting. It could work as a house too, but I feel you'd have to try and make a story out of it, where with a scare zone you could just let it be and just have it be fan interaction throughout the whole thing. So now we're moving on to number five. And number five is a little weird because I wanted to find a zombie video game that would work really well. We've had plenty of zombies before at HHN for a while. They actually took over. That's a little bit before my time. I came in right as The Walking Dead was slowly leaving HHN. So, but when looking for zombies, I looked at Dead Rising, which could be fun. You could have from Frank West quotes in there. COD Zombies is very futuristic with how it works nowadays, but not as popular. And then I moved on to Left 4 Dead. Obviously a good pick. They got different looking zombies with the special infected. But no, number five for me is Half-Life. Half-Life 2 to be specific, because I want to go to Ravenholm. I personally think this would be a really good choice. And the idea that that area, they have the slow zombie head crabs, and then that's when you first run into a lot of the faster one variants, and the traps that are always laid out in that area. You could have those in the house and show them off. Just have a big spinning blade, show off the gravity gun in some way, I guess with wires. I think would be really fun. And just hearing the actual head crab screams throughout the house, I think will be very exciting. I could easily see this being a really good house. And then when you go out of the house, you go to the merch stand and they're selling head crab hats that you can wear. I know Valve used to sell things like that. I'm not sure if they still do, but I could see that being really good of a tie-in for the house that would work really well as like, oh, you went through the house, you can play the game, now you can buy the hat while you're here at Halloween Horror Nights. I think that'd be perfect. Number six, I went with Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal recently just had a TV show that did really well. I liked it. I believe there's a season 2 on its way. I hope so, at least. Obviously, it being a house would be a little weird. We could do a house, or you could do a scare zone and just have the cars sitting out there with their drivers around. Obviously, Sweet Tooth would probably be the big selling point of the house or the area, so you can go see him. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to do the fire on his head easily, but maybe smoke of some sort I could see. I'm not sure. I think just having a big guy in a clown mask would be easily a really big highlight. We've always had clowns at the event, but you could also see a whole lot of the wacky cars and destruction around. This was more or less here because I wanted something different, because Twisted Metal's not really horror. It's horror adjacent, but it's also very fun and wacky. And HHN, along with being horror, is also always been fun and wacky. We've always had that kind of small connection because horror kind of bleeds into a lot of other things. It's more of a genre with multiple genres collided into it, and I feel like that's what Twisted Metal is. It's just a bunch of stuff colliding and twisting into each other. Number seven, I have the Amnesia franchise. Recently, The Bunker just came out, and that was considered really well done. But overall, Amnesia has had a very good track record, I would argue, of one really good game that kicked off the YouTube horror scene with your PewDiePies and Markipliers. But then, kind of did all right with the next two games. I think they're pretty all right. And then The Bunker just came and took everything by storm for a short little while. And I feel like it most definitely works better as a house. Gotta stay inside for this one. You can control the lighting. You can control the monsters and how they look and how they interact, because that first guy in the first Amnesia is scary when you're playing the game. But when you just look at the model, you're just kind of like, he's kind of goofy looking. And it'd be really hard to have that just out and not scare anybody that's around, because he's just kind of goofy looking. And a thing I would love to see is them try and actually recreate the first game's water scene where you're running from the monster inside the flooded area. I think that'd be really fun. I've been to some haunt events where they use lasers and smoke to make it look like water, like you're in like chest high or leg high water. I would love to see HHN take a crack at that and then just have something jump out. I don't believe you ever actually see the creature, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've played Amnesia, but I think that'd be excellent just to have somebody jump up and come out of the smoke lasers and scare people. It'd be pretty fun. I think you could stretch that out and cover. Obviously, you would cover the first one, and then a bit of 2 and 3, and then finish with the bunker, and then maybe like a runoff where you see all the monsters slowly over time. I think that'd be actually pretty fun. Number 8, we're going back to J horror because I've chosen Clock Tower, a game that probably most people who are listening to this either don't know or haven't played, because technically the first one never left its actual native land of Japan. And this is mostly here because I really like Clock Tower. I think Clock Tower is really underappreciated, and it's most definitely slowly over time got less fun. And it's also here mostly because gotta have some short people in the houses. I'm not very tall. This is my one chance to get into HHN. I can be the short guy with the big scissors. I can pull it off. That's what Clock Tower is pretty much mostly known for, is its main enemy, which is a really short guy with really big scissors who chases you around every now and then while you're trying to solve small little puzzles and make your way through this house. Number 9. Number 9 is a game that I actually haven't played, but I love the aesthetic and the storytelling of it from what I've seen and read and researched. And one of my friends loves this franchise and the studio that makes it, and that's Alan Wake. Recently just had a sequel come out and still doing stuff with that. Probably will be having something to deal with any game that comes out with it because it's part of a whole connected universe from how it seems. I just love the idea of dark monsters being fought with flashlights. I think that's a very fun idea for an HHN house. It kind of goes back to some of our other choices, like with Fatal Frame. You could easily just have a bright light shine out and have the monsters retract. It'd be perfect. If HHN wanted to really try and go for it, give out little flashlights to people. Maybe like every 4 for 6 person, give them a flashlight. You're like, oh, you can shine your flashlight on people. That might encourage people maybe to use their phones as flashlights, which might not be very good. But I think that'd be a fun, interactive thing to do. And that moves us on to number 10. And I really wanted to try and find something that I really liked as a first-person shooter that could work as horror. You have your Doom. Doom would always work. Be probably more of an action-y house, but it would work. Fallout. The recent Fallout show has come out. It proves with some of the scenes in there that you could make an easy horror-based maze off of that. And then I remembered the one thing that everyone always wanted to come to HHN and hasn't, and hopefully with some new announcements in the next couple years, we could get one, and that would be BioShock. The actual really best first-person shooter with a horror theme that would really work. It's underwater, and you have splicers which are really creepy. There's different types. If they could find a way to get maybe a fake mannequin or animatronic to crawl on the ceiling like the ones in the game, it'd be perfect. And obviously you would always finish off with the big daddies. It'd be really neat if they could get lights inside of it, so when it does its scare, it lights red like how it does in the game. I think that'd be perfect. But it's most definitely one of the biggest franchises that everyone always wanted to come to HHN, to the point that we technically had an underwater house a few years back, and everyone's kind of like, it's kind of like BioShock, but mostly everybody remembers that because of the dog at the end. That poor dog. But yeah, I think, especially with it being so popular, to every year somebody, if they ever bring up video game haunted houses, BioShock's usually on it. And there you go. That's pretty much my list of ideas that I've had down. There's obviously always going to be more ideas as time goes on, especially with newer franchises. I did try and stick to specifically video games, even if they did have outside media that could help them, like movies and TV shows and whatnot. But I tried to stick to that. That's why I didn't really put like a Slender Man in here, because he's more of a internet urban legend horror and not really video games. The video game was just popular after the fact. But I want to know what you guys think. I'm really curious because video games really don't get a lot of representation at HHN or haunts in general, to my knowledge. It's mostly movies and then TV shows and then video games. But let me know. Maybe if there's enough comments and interaction with this, I could do a follow-up and see what you guys think and see what other people think about your ideas. I think that'd be really fun. And yeah, that's about it. See you later.
Don't leave me!